Welcome to The Table, a podcast where leaders pull up a chair and tell the real story, how they got there and how they stayed there. I'm your host, Jeanette Hernandez. So pull up a seat because this is The Table. So Tony, thank you so much for joining us at The Table. I appreciate you spending some time with us, and I know many of our listeners know you, but for those that don't, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Jeanette. Thanks for having me. Hi, I'm Tony Corleto. I'm Chief Legal Officer at HAI Group in Cheshire, Connecticut. HAI Group is the nation's leading insurer of public housing authorities and affordable housing organizations.
That's amazing. That's an amazing niche. I think that's one example of people think of these, the big top 10, but there's so many ways that we help the community, and people don't realize the niche that you can get into in insurance. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So you arrived in a very different way than a lot of people at the table that you're at today. Could you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got there?
Sure. I've been in this role for about 2.5 years. For about 5 years before that, the organization was a client. I practiced law in a big law firm, had the opportunity to create a client relationship. And so for about 5 years, I defended cases for the organization across the country. I led teams of lawyers doing that, got to know the folks inside the company, attended a few of their events. And about 3 years ago, they were looking to expand the executive team, and somebody suggested that I should put my resume in, and they created a role for me. So very fortunate to be here.
Was that one of the leaders that saw you from the working relationship?
Yes. Our president, Ed Malaspina, I think was instrumental in making that opportunity. Our director of claims had been a client of mine, the guy I created the relationship with, Pat. And between the two of them, I was invited to join the party.
I think that's a really interesting thing because a lot of people don't realize, because we're so busy, a lot of people have a very clear journey of how they want to get to whatever the table is they're aspiring to be at. And we forget that other people are watching along the way, and we're planting seeds in those relationships. So you're a testament to educating yourself, working well with others, and someone saw something in you that said, not only do we think he'd be a great part of our team, he'd be a great leader for the organization. That's all based on your work and how you showed up every day.
Thank you.
Yeah, great.
I think they've said that.
Great example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really it's simply a matter of wherever you are, whenever you are, you don't know what tomorrow is going to be, what the next year is going to be. Do your best. Pay attention to what's going on around you.
Now that you're there, if you had aspired to be where you are today, if you looked back and told your younger self, what would be a couple of things that you would have said to prepare you to get there?
Good question. So my younger self was an underwriter, and my younger self went to law school at night, and then I practiced law for a number of years. When I was really young in career, I would have looked forward and said, yeah, I'd like to be there someday, because I worked home office and I had an opportunity to work with the general counsel's office at the company I was at. And that looked really cool. But I wound up going into legal practice, insurance defense work, which was a boatload of fun, got to do a lot of different things. And so that kind of disappeared from sight and really wasn't a thing after a certain time. How to prepare yourself for this? Pay attention to what's going on around you. Stay networked. Join an organization that's aligned with where you want to be. So if you're looking to be, at a leadership position within an insurance company, find an organization that serves the insurance industry. Get involved in an event like Connected Claims. Go to APCIA, go to CLM, go to RIMS, things like that. Get involved. Show up, do something. You'll meet people. You'll find opportunities. You'll learn about other companies. And you'll find a path. No one's going to put it in front of you most of the time.
Except in your case.
I got lucky.
Do you think a lot of people think, oh, I need a mentor? You kind of take the route and you say, if I get a mentor, they'll guide me, which is true in certain things, but that usually tends to be more introspective. Would you say that the organizations that you're speaking, like the industry organizations, are a better path than just being bold? And if I said, Tony, I want to be chief legal officer someday, can I talk to you? I think people are fearful, saying, oh, he's too busy or he's C-suite.
Yeah, no, those conversations happen all the time. And I get approached for those conversations. And I think anybody who's in a leadership position, who's asked to have that conversation is happy to do that because we're all happy to share our experience. And we know that you need to bring others up. You're not going to be there forever. The most important thing, or one of the most important things, is to make sure you're bringing up the next generation.
Mm-hmm. That I think if you said one thing about leadership, it's great leaders create other leaders. Do you have an opportunity to do that within your organization, or are you mostly asked outside of your organization?
Both actually happen. So, within the organization, we're very cognizant of creating the next level of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So we do a few things. We actually train. We bring in outside training for our next level. And we create opportunities for discussion. Each of us has regular one-on-one meetings with our direct reports.
Mm-hmm.
Happens on a regular cadence. And career pathing is part of the discussion. So, I've identified someone who could step into my role at the appropriate time, and we're working on that level of mentorship.
That's great. Do you see a place at the table that you're currently at? What are some of the challenges? Because I think people think it's still just doing your job, and people don't realize the weight when you get into C-suite because you have multiple people reporting up to you. It's not just your direct reports. It is you're now responsible for a budget for an entire division. And you think about that as a human being. It's not always just, bottom lines and one-on-ones. It's there's a personal element that we bring to our jobs as the leader that we are. What do you think is the kind of the biggest aha moment for you once you've been at the table for a few years?
Um, I think the biggest aha moment is that you've got to manage your position. You've got to manage expectations to a degree. And really, how you communicate and how you show up is key.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I've got 3 units that report to me. I've got claims reporting to me. I've got product development. I've got legal and compliance. Each one of them is a different animal. And I can't manage each of them the same.
Right.
It's not, okay, I've got this report, I got that report, check the boxes down the road. It's not like that. Each one of them has different dynamics, different needs. And you need to be flexible. You need to know that I can't manage this group the way I manage that group.
Mm-hmm.
Some groups need more touch. Some groups need less touch. Sometimes it's really a matter of resetting the tone within a group, resetting what a group is doing.
That's a great point. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes things have been running on autopilot. You need to fix that a little bit.
That reset, I'm taking it, it's influence. It's the influence you have to guide the people when they're not going in the right direction.
Sure. And it's not necessarily not in the right direction, but you find things that need to be fine-tuned to better serve the organization, to better serve those that are within that unit. So for example, we've spoken a lot about creating opportunities and bringing up others and training and so forth. We want to make sure that if we've got a unit that has, let's say, 2-3 dozen folks in it serving different functions, that we don't treat it like just 2-3 dozen people. There's a lot of individuals there. Each has different needs and different skills. So you want to create career opportunities, pathing opportunities, and do it consciously, do it methodically, allow people to grow.
I think you said a couple things just now. Sometimes it's career pathing that makes you move table to table, but other times people either it's the table they want to be at, and so they say that, I've hit my pinnacle, but there are times you should leave, whether the culture has changed, the position has changed, the team has changed. You just kind of get something in your gut where this is not my place anymore. But it's very hard to leave because of the responsibilities and we don't want to let people down. Can you give any advice to people when they know it's time to leave, but how do I do it?
Sure. I think I've been fortunate enough not to have that circumstance in my career.
You've really been blessed, by the way.
But what I would say is, you need to take your temperature. You find yourself uncomfortable for a couple of days, try and fix it before you do anything. Speak to those around you, speak to your whoever you report to, speak to HR. Try and figure out what's going on, address the problem. You may find success in addressing the problem. You may create better opportunities for yourself in addressing the problem because it's not necessarily going to be better for you elsewhere.
True.
So try and fix where you are first. If you can, great. If you can't, be frank about it. At a certain level, if there's recognition that the situation isn't working on both ends, you'll find a way to create a path on the way out. Many organizations will want to do that for a number of reasons, their own internal risk management, so to speak.
Right.
Also, you're part of the alumni network, good, bad, or otherwise, you're part of the alumni network.
Right.
And
it's a great phrase.
Yeah.
We're all in it somehow.
Right. So, you want happy alumni to the extent they can be, because they're ambassadors.
That's a great point. I think we internalize it a lot, but we don't realize that if we do reach out, it's not always the only alternative.
Right.
And if we do have to do it, there's a way you can do it where it's good for both sides.
Correct.
Yeah. What do you think over your career has been the biggest change about any of the tables that you've been at, but particularly the C-suite? Because that job has changed. I don't care which job it is. It's getting more difficult because, geopolitical issues, climate issues, working in insurance, many of the external things are just so much. It makes our job hard every single day. But what do you think is the biggest change that you've seen?
Well, I think we spoke about this earlier. You're not going to necessarily land someplace and be there for 30 years. That was the expectation many years ago. I don't think that's any longer the expectation. I think it's an aspiration. The organization I'm with is fortunate to have folks who have been lifers, and we look to create lifers, but we recognize that's not the norm these days.
Right.
That is a huge change. You're talking about institutional knowledge and skill sets that constantly need to be refreshed. I think one of the exciting things is, and we're seeing it here at this conference, technology has evolved to help us with the institutional knowledge piece of things.
Right.
That's helpful and encouraging. It doesn't displace people. It's another tool.
Agreed.
And then, as an individual, you've got to recognize that you may not have that 30-year career in one place. You're going to have a 30-year career, but it may not be in one place. Be ready to make a change when a change needs to be made. Don't do it willy-nilly.
Yeah. We were chatting yesterday, and you said something that was really, really interesting, because sometimes we get very myopic. Some people, they make lists and they say, I see the path and I know exactly what career. Sometimes you have to leave to go to another company. But sometimes an opportunity presents itself, and we may not realize that that's the best place for us to go. You had a successful law career. So what was that thing that made you say, corporate management looks good to me. I like leadership, because they're very different. I mean, not from a leadership at a law firm, you're still leading, but it's a different job.
Sure. For me, it was easy to make that pivot because I knew the organization, I knew the people. That's not always the case. And I wasn't looking for it presented, and I had a little bit of time to get comfortable with the idea. In my case, that's what made it happen.
Did you struggle a little bit? Did you say,
Not really.
No.
Not really.
The universe pushes you where you should go.
It does. It does. And the other thing, in my case, I'm at a point in my career where you have to think about, all right, what's that next potential last step going to be? What's it going to look like? And I knew that I didn't want to burn out, so to speak, working cases as a lawyer. I'd seen too many people do that. So this looked like a good way to transition away from that potential bad end of the road and do something that I could sustain for a period of time.
I think your story inspires people that sometimes when you're meant to be somewhere, the opportunity will show up and you don't have to worry about it. Just be the best that you can be. And that's what creates the opportunities.
100%.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tony, so much for coming. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Thanks for listening to The Table. If you like this episode, please follow us and subscribe so that others can find us. Until next time, go out and find a seat at your table.